Okay, alright. Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for another
Completely Normal
Let's Argue, where we hop on the Patreon page, we take your hot takes, your unpopular opinions, your tough questions, and respond to the best ones. That's what we do. Let's go for it. The idea that some people have that not liking hip-hop is racist is in itself racist. It reduces black music down to one genre and ignores the countless other contributions that culture has given to... yeah, what you say is true. Black Americans have contributed so much to other genres of music too, but does your average racist know that? No. Your average racist is going to hear a rap song and think like, I don't like all that hipping and hopping and bipping and bopping. But look, of course, like in concept, in general, disliking hip-hop music or not really being all that into it doesn't make you racist. There are black people that don't really like hip-hop all that much, and that's cool, and that's fine. I guess at the end of the day, like, whether or not it is kind of, racist coded to not enjoy hip-hop, it really kind of depends on, like, what your reasoning is for not liking it. If somebody just said to me they don't like rap music, and just kind of left it there and didn't really add anything else beyond that point, would I presume them to be racist? No, probably not. But if I put on some rap music and somebody's, initial response is to be really loud and annoying about it, and they're just like, I don't like that hip-hop rap. All they do is talk about guns and drugs and women, I would probably think they're racist. And the thing is, like, it's really not hard to, separate the people who dislike hip-hop for racist reasons from the people that, are maybe just like not liking it because it's not their thing. Because the people who are racist about it are often pretty loud and obnoxious and can't shut up about it. This guy says the only people who enjoy hearing blues music are the musicians playing it in that moment. Those are the only people that enjoy hearing blues music? That's so stupid. This is so stupid. Why do you come on my Patreon and you say this? Okay, verifiably, lots of people enjoy the sound of blues music. Blues music is still alive and well and being incorporated into the songs from bands you like freaking, I don't know, King Gizzard, or one of my favorite bands in the last couple of years, Geese. Lots of psychedelic bands borrow from the blues tradition as well, as far as like chord changes, soloing ideas. Blues is one of the most fundamental and bedrock forms of traditional American music and essentially paved the way for rock and roll. I mean, sure, you could make an argument that like it's a little old hat at this point and everything, but that doesn't mean that nobody is enjoying it or that it doesn't have just as much right to exist as like some kind of shitty experimental micro genre on SoundCloud right now. So ignorant take, dumb take, I don't like it. You and Los Pollos make a cute couple. Not a take, just an observation. You two should go on a date. Maybe a little quaint night out at a small club playing one dance, or a late night Drake and Drive playing Liability. Look, for me, a deal maker, deal breaker is if you're gonna go out with me, you have to say to me, Anthony, can you do something for me? And currently, Los will not do that. He's too much of a coward.
Before I go, can you be like, Fantano, can you do something for me? Can you do that? Come on, can you do it one time before we go?
I'm doing it.
Come on, do it.
He's afraid of saying it. He thinks it's zesty. He thinks that's a zesty thing to say. And even if it is, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being a little zesty, especially if the plan at the end of it is to have a nice night out together. And look, I'm down for that. I would be into that. But Los, he's too much of a coward. He's too much of a fucking weakling to say to me, Anthony, can you do something for me? What is your 2023 opinion on young Nudy? You've only reviewed one mixtape from him, Pierre Bourne, Slamer, so on and so forth. Yeah, I mean, I heard the project he dropped this year. I think he's mid. I think he's boring. I think he's one-dimensional. I don't think he writes catchy or memorable songs. I mean, obviously, there's not really much in terms of substance there, which doesn't necessarily mean his music is bad. It doesn't need to have depth or anything like that. But he's one of these dudes that, to my ear, sounds barely awake on the microphone. And if you don't sound awake or alive on the mic, I just don't see any point in engaging with what you do. If you sound half asleep, I'm half asleep. Broken Social Scene should have gotten the credit Arcade Fire did off of You Forgot It in People, way better and more creative than Funeral. You could say even predicted a lot of the noisier indie acts lately. You know, honestly, I have gone back to Funeral a couple of times lately, and while I do understand still contextually and historically, like the importance that record serves as far as like, you know, the greater indie scene, the Canadian scene, etc. You know, in 2023, it was just not hitting. And you know what? Now that Arcade Fire has fallen from grace, it's time for Broken Social Scene to rise up. BSS supremacy, baby! Too bad it's most likely never going to happen because the band just has too many members. They got too many members. I mean, obviously, you know, they kind of fit into that same indie too many members lane as Arcade Fire and Godspeed and all those other Canadian bands. Why are they all Canadian? But like Broken Social Scene specifically has too many members. Many of them are like fractured off into their own things and projects. They're like Wu-Tang. Brendan Canning is the RZA, Kevin Drew is Jizza. Meanwhile, Emily Haynes is Ghostface Killah, and Feist is freaking Raekwon. I think Rhett and Link are easily the best thing to come out of early YouTube. Consistently good content, no drops in viewership, no controversies, no cringy pandering, just generally all around very likable, friendly people. They're pretty much the face of what great YouTubers should be. I mean, I like those guys. I don't really watch too much of their content myself, but like, I, put myself in whatever category they're in, along with a few others like Sexy Phil and so on and so forth, where yeah, it's like early YouTube era. But for whatever reason, what they did and the format and everything else just like kind of worked and made sense and withstood the test of time because, while Rhett and Link are certainly, cool and likable guys, there are tons of other YouTube channels that saw loads of drops in viewership and just sort of fell off. Not because they did anything bad or controversial or whatever, but because the type of format or the content they did just didn't really work long term or only made sense for a short period of time. And again, I consider myself fortunate enough to be among those who sort of like had an idea, had a direction, had a passion, had a topic and sort of stuck with it and it worked out, again, at least for me. There are others who, through no fault of their own, not as much. But yeah, for sure, Rhett and Link, good format, good vibes, good energy, generally good content. Also, fellow vasectomy boy here. Bagpipes are the most annoying instrument of all time. It's the least suitable, shrill, blaring imaginable, and it's impossible to use bagpipes as part of a modern song. Other terrible instruments can be used sparingly in modern songs without ruining the whole thing. The only reason bagpipes are not extinct is their place in Scottish history. All bagpipes in the world should be ceremoniously destroyed in a sweet cleansing fire. Case closed. Yo, you want to like do a book burning, but like with bagpipes? That's kind of fucked up, honestly. I think bagpipes are cool and I like bagpipes. I get that their melodic range and how they're typically played kind of limits their application in a lot of modern music, but bagpipes in many respects are a folk instrument. There's a lot of instruments like bagpipes that have been around for just centuries at this point because they are a part of a very rich and specific regional music tradition. Bagpipes are not unique in that. And personally, I think that's a cool thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. And bagpipes play into a pretty common musical tradition across many cultures of drone, of repetition, which also is neat and is cool and is just a different mode of creating and composing music. And I think you're going a little overboard with the bagpipe hate. I'll say that. In fact, if I could have one wish right now, I would waste it on being able to wake up tomorrow and play the bagpipes and just pick up some bagpipes and play them here on camera just to piss you off. Okay, maybe I'm not that petty, but it would be nice to know how to play the bagpipes. What's the most recent song that made you cry / tear up? I feel almost dumb saying this, but like, I was actually listening to some tracks. It may have been dance, it may have been something else, but I was listening to some tracks off of the Justice album Cross, just in the car, and it might have been a bit of nostalgia because I do have a deep personal kind of history and love for that record, but also at the time I was hearing it, just sounded so damn good, just sounded real good and heavy and epic, and I was like, man, this is just... And it's weird because it's not a sad song. It's not like a... It wasn't a particularly tear-jerker moment, you know, I will say. But, you know, I was feeling like a little emotional just because, like, hey, this is pretty powerful. We're having a powerful moment here. In this episode, we had a specific question, a specific ask, wondering what is the first album you would show someone who's never heard music before? We got some pretty interesting responses. The first one being Pulse Demon. And I'd tell them all music sounds like this. It is sick and disturbed and twisted that you would want to lie to someone who's never heard music before. As a less horrible answer here, we have Abbey Road. The songs are catchy and pleasant, and the production is crisp, clear, and colorful, so it's easy to get into. The track list is also diverse and provides some historical context for modern popular music, as the Beatles are one of the most relevant and influential groups of all time. It isn't my favorite album, but I think it's a better choice to start off someone's music listening journey, so on and so forth. I wouldn't necessarily disagree. I think it's a very approachable and, you know, mostly friendly and pretty record, though I will say, you know, She's So Heavy on the end of the first side is maybe a little intense for potentially a first foray into music. Might freak somebody out. You know, you really do have to think about the sensitivities of people who've never heard a certain thing before and don't really know what the sources of these sounds and, you know, and what they are essentially. Like, you know, back in the day, even people freaked out during the first performance of Rites of Spring because there were elements of that composition that for that time were too wild even for them. But, you know, it's kind of interesting that like the Beatles are sort of, you know, the standard bearers for accessibility in music, but there was a time where they were kind of cutting edge and weird and just doing things that were very different as far as mainstream music goes. And you have to consider that somebody who's never heard music before isn't even going to be at that point. I'd show them Corey Feldman's Angelic to the Core, not because they'll enjoy it, but because listening to it can enhance their appreciation for other albums. I suppose that, you know, could work maybe in theory, but honestly, you know, you don't want to like put somebody off on the wrong foot. You know what I mean? Like, I think you want their first introduction to music to be a good quality piece of art. Something like Angelic to the Core, especially with it being as long as it is, could fry their brain off the bat and really kind of like, you know, ruin their perceptions of music on the whole, because they really have no frame of reference for it to be as bad as it is. I suppose the ear naturally would pick up all the various things on the record that are out of tune or not quite locked into a groove, but I feel like it's just too much of a responsibility to risk. You guys are really just like, you know, fucking throwing caution to the wind here and potentially messing this person up for life. What are some bad lyrics to you? Don't look at this fucking can. This video ain't fucking sponsored. And so yeah, you guys came through with the bad lyrics. Let's see what the bad lyrics are. I hope you get testicular cancer in the brain, dickhead. 2 Chainz off of Beautiful Pain. Actually bars. I'll say critically, maybe there's a better way in which he could have like formatted it so that the punchline hit harder and, you know, obviously, getting cancer in your testicles is different than having cancer in your dick. But, you know, still, I think it's a funny thing to say. I think it's a funny image. And it took Mr. Chainz, I think, a lot of creativity to get there. Just maybe, you know, the execution could have been better. Bloody like a body that has died and it's myself. Yeah, that Melanie Martinez line is fucking trash. Like, God, I've folded that line over so much in my head thinking like, what the fuck? What the fuck is she trying to say? It's such a weird comparison because obviously it's a simile and she's likening the thing that she's describing to herself. So, you know, she's bloody like a body that has died and it's myself, but why would you need to add it's myself? You're already saying, I'm bloody like a body that has died. Then it's you. You don't need to say, and it's myself. There's no reveal there. You've already likened yourself to it. Really makes you realize that people die when they are killed. I was going through NLE Choppa's Slut Me Out for the ass on my face till I get pink eye bar, but the entirety of the song is just gross. I don't find it sexy, funny, or creative in any way. Play with my gooch while you suck me. Ever sucked a vegan dick? Baby, come taste me. Promise that my nut, like sugar gravy, don't come quick. Control my bladder? I do like, some really like raunchy, very, very like, you know, freaking graphic rap lyrics, but he's not as fun with it as someone like Cupcake. And I believe Baby Tate had a really good kind of like Slut Him Out track that I thought was really fucking awesome. And, you know, NLE, an attempt was made, and it's fine. I do appreciate the track for kind of like breaking down some very macho male expectations of like sexuality in hip hop music, but, you know, again, it's still not totally there. We're still working out kinks. Kudos on Tyler though for, you know, wanting someone to sit on his face and get nothing in return. She can move her ass, but can she move her mind? The worst question a song has ever asked me. It's like that fucking awful meme where the bimbo chick picks up the book and then she slowly turns into like a nerd girl. And it's kind of like really fucking gross and sexist. Like, oh, my girl, she can't twerk, but she got into MIT. You can do both, number one, and number two, being able to do either is fine. Falling for neither person is wrong. There's nothing wrong with moving your ass, and a lot of people who move ass can also move their mind. It's fine. Uncle Cracker, follow me. Follow me. Everything is all right. I'll be the one to tuck you in at night. The whole infantilizing your partner thing is weird and gross, and don't fucking do it. Yeah, making your partner like a baby, a little baby, is so weird in song. I also hate, you know, a lot of, especially like these older vocal pop tracks, where you have women who like come through with like, you know, oh, you're coming down the chimney tonight. Wow, wow. Sort of like a, you know, a baby voice. I've talked about this before on videos. Santa baby, you want down the chimney tonight. Ugh, I fucking hate the baby voice. If you're gonna be sexy on a song, use an adult person's voice, cause I want to be attracted to an adult person, not a baby. Oh, Margaritaville. I'm gonna pee myself. So yeah. That has been Let's Argue. Proud of you. You're amazing. You're incredible. And I hope you have a nice day. Anthony Fantano, Patreon community, forever.